Hey guys, less is more back with another video, and today we're going to do a hand history review of a hand I played at 2KNL on Global. Global is an American-facing site, and this hand was played I think about 2 months ago, maybe about 6 weeks ago. But this is going to be a fun spot. We're just going to briefly discuss playing turns and rivers out of position on some of these wetter high boards. So we'll go through the hand real quick. So I'm in the small blind, button opens 2.25. I 3-bet to 11.5. The button calls, flop is Jack 8-2. I half pot, the button calls, turn is a queen bringing in a backdoor flush draw. I go about 60%. The button calls, and then the river is a queen pairing the queen, and I jam, and then the button calls. I have aces, and he called pretty quickly with worse. So we're gonna walk through this. I think a lot of people might see this hand at first glance and think, you know, this might be a bit thin or something of that nature. But this is often quite a misconception. So yeah, we're just gonna discuss this in Pio real quick. So here's the small blind versus button tree I have set up. Quite a few sizes. But I have a subtree set up separately that we're going to discuss. But just to get an overview of the flop play, this board is going to be a pretty high frequency bet for about half the pot. And there will be like some slightly bigger sizes mixed in, like 3/4, but mostly going to be half pot on this board. And then the rainbow boards going up in frequency. But these dry jack high boards, generally the standard size is around half pot. So it goes half pot call, turn is the queen of clubs. And okay, but before we move on to the subtree, the imposition is going to be clicking a bit with hands like Jack 10, Jack 9, and this is basically, when you have a top pair without an overcard to the board, this is like your most susceptible overpair. Like, you know, the small blind range is very overcard dense. You know, king, queen, ace, king, all those sorts of hands have a lot of equity against Jack 10. So these hands will start to click back versus, you know, bet here, even in position, just for protection. You know, notice like queen jack, king jack, ace jack aren't raising nearly as often. So let's move on to the subtree here. Wait, no, wrong one. Here we go. Yeah, so this is the turn queen. I have a lot of sizes in pretty much every node. So the primary size used in this scenario is going to be quarter and half pot, setting up for, you know, a less than pot size river jam. You want to be making sure to set up for, you know, a pretty low SPR on the river. Don't just try to set up for, like, you know, a half pot jam by default. Like if it goes bet call, yeah, the SPR is like, yeah, the SPR is about 0.5. So yeah, make sure, especially in 3-bet pots, you want to be setting up for quite a small jam in comparison to the pot on the river. On this turn, mostly going to be quarter pot and half pot. Aces, ace queen, betting quite frequently. If we bet, let's look at the half pot size. So if we half pot, even hands like ace queen are going to be jamming in position. So sort of what I wanted to look at was how thin both players should be going. Like, if you face a half pot bet from the small blind here, a lot of players would just, I think, would just like insta-click call and not really think too much about it, just because, like, you lose to queen jack, 10-9, queens, jacks, eights, aces, kings, all those sorts of things. But the issue is, like, on these high connected runouts, there's going to be tons of runouts that basically kill your hand. So when you have a hand like ace queen, you can still get called by worse. If you jam, you get called by king queen, queen 10. Like, pretty much all the top pairs is calling, right? You're going to be chopping quite often in this line. So yeah, there's plenty of worse hands that can call you. So, and not to mention, like, if you think about it, like, as far as, like, getting value on the river, like, any king, jack, 10, 9, 8 is pretty, or club really is not great to get money in ahead on the river. So these hands are often just going to jam themselves. Yeah, and then it goes back call, and then the river was another queen. So now you have, like, this really low SPR. And what happens at these lower SPRs is you're going to see very thin value jams. Like, kings might seem a bit thin. Like, if this was a much higher SPR, like, these hands wouldn't be... I mean, they definitely wouldn't be jamming, but they would, start to mix in checks and, like, blocks and things like that. It's just, like, at this SPR, you can get called by worse. So if you jam, they're pretty much calling... They're calling the vast majority of their one pair hands. Jack 10, king jack, ace queen, king queen, king queen off, ace jack off, pocket nines at some frequency, 10-8 at some frequency. 8-7 is just a pure call, 9-8 is just a pure call. So you have to be aware of how thin you should be getting called. But also, you have to make some of these adjustments on the fly, because, like, in game, I'm aware that imposition should be calling me very light here. And this particular opponent, I felt like was going to, respond on the river close to this. Let's just say he did not particularly enjoy folding. And so, like, I have a really easy decision with a hand like ace queen or aces, right? So, in these low SPR spots, don't be afraid to put the money in. We can take a look at a few other turns, like at jack. Aces and kings still going to be, like, pure jamming. Ace queen, almost a pure bet, not going to be jamming as often, because, like, a really high density of the imposition range is a queen, or is a jack rather. So, like, the queen is just a bit thinner, and then king queen still going to be pure betting, but just for a smaller size. So yeah, and then, like, an ace turn. Yeah, so this is where it gets quite different. So the out of position range is really ace-x dense. So this is quite a good turn for the out of position player. So if you jam it, you're not making really any of these lower pair hands indifferent between calling and folding. Like, a hand like king jack is just a massive mistake as a call, and it's really calling, like, most of the call range is like two pair, or like imposition even has straights. That's going to be a big thing on this river. Is they have enough king 10 where if you jam, you're not going to be making these hands, the one pair hands, really have much of a decision. What was 7? Okay, yeah, so there's not enough 10-9 in the imposition range to make these single pair hands want to just pure fold out or whatever. Um, yeah, so these ace rivers are you have to be cognizant that it's going to be hard to make a lot of one pair hands indifferent on this ace river if you just go huge. So this so this is a 10% size. We can look at the 10% and quarter size. So 10%, the two pairs raising, straights are raising, some pair plus straight blockers raising. But even a hand like, queen nine of hearts versus a 10% pot bet is getting folded out quite often. So it just goes to show, like, you can't go thin on this river at all, really. I mean, ace queen is going to struggle to bet for value, blocking a lot of the worst queen X that imposition's going to have. I mean, this is why you see ace king betting more often than ace queen, because like you're trying to target a queen. Not to mention ace king doesn't get raised as often, blocking the king to the king 10. Yeah, so that's really the gist of what I wanted to cover today. Thank you guys for watching.